activities or movies that always pop up this time of year. In October, kids and teens may want to go to haunted houses and other attractions, and sometimes there can be pressure from friends to attend. Kids can also find many scary movies on streaming apps or TV. So what is the right age for kids to start doing these scary activities? Joining us now, Dr. Laura Saunders, a psychologist with the Institute of Living. Dr. Saunders, always good for you to be with us.
Thank you, Erin.
So when should we start having these discussions about going to haunted houses or doing things that may be very scary for children? Is there an exact appropriate age here?
So there isn't really an exact appropriate or developmental age, but I do really like to keep typical development in mind. It's also really about parents knowing their children. Kids who are a little bit more on the anxious side or a little bit more vulnerable, really you should hold off with things that might scare them. The problem is they get access to information that could be very scary, and some kids like that sort of thrill, that like endorphin rush that the scare gives them, and some really don't. And once they engage in an activity like a haunted house or something, a haunted hayride that is very scary for them, then they have difficulty sleeping and nightmares. You need to then actively keep them away from that because it really affected them in such a negative way. But it really is about knowing your children.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you think are the best ways to help children cope with being scared? And sometimes this can really happen unintentionally. You watch a movie like Hocus Pocus 2, and I have a 4- and 6-year-old, and they may see some things that they start getting questions about. What are those skeletons? What's a witch?
Right. So it's really, it's an explanation between what's real and what's not real. What is fantasy? Like, in school, they talk about fact and fiction, right? What's real and what's not real? What's a fantasy? What's pretend? So again, those are developmental cognitive stages. Some kids really understand pretend, some kids don't. So it's really addressing things from that standpoint and talking about, well, this is a movie, this is pretend, none of this is real. Skeletons are meant to be spooky and scary. Skeletons are part of the body. So trying to provide matter-of-fact explanations so that it takes some of the scare away, especially if you don't think your child would do well with that.
Absolutely. What about those Halloween parties? It's very popular this time of year, and kids could potentially, especially older kids, feel some pressure from friends to attend.
Right, and that's actually the really hard part. I, in fact, know that I did not like those kind of things when I was a teenager and didn't see any scary movies. So it's trying to find a way to fit in, but maybe knowing like you're going to have to shield your eyes for different things, because sometimes those visual images really stick with people, and then it affects their sleep and it makes them more anxious. So it's having these discussions openly, talking about it, and really encouraging your child to stand up for themselves if they're being pressured to do something that makes them feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, knowing your own level of comfort as well as your kids, really the name of the game here, it seems. Dr. Laura Saunders, a psychologist with the Institute of Living. We always appreciate you being with us and your insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.